Hey all, Doeboy here. For quick context, if you don't know me, I've played and beaten every Metroid game, I've hosted multiple panels at PAX East about the Metroid series, I've speedrun a few games, I know the lore fairly well, and I've even cosplayed as Mr. Ridley himself.
I'm in Metroid Dread. I'm the main character this time, and I'm fighting Ravenbeak.
So Metroid has been a significant part of my life, both as a gamer and as a content creator. When I saw the trailer during the Nintendo Direct with Samus on the motorcycle, like everyone else, it made me think the game would be open world.
What am I looking at? It's open world, dude. Are you kidding me?
Initially, this was only exciting to me simply because it's just so different, which is intriguing regardless of your take on open world games, as the Metroid series has never done this. Additionally, my brain often thinks about Breath of the Wild when I think of open world, but we know open world has become a gimmick lately, and it doesn't always add value unless it's well executed. Since then, I've thought about this game and talked about it with others, and I get the concern around an open world Prime game and why this could be a poor choice for a Prime game. But ultimately, I think the trailer may be slightly misleading, and perhaps on purpose. Here's what I think is happening, and what the game will actually be like on December 4th. For those of you who have played the core Prime trilogy, or even other Metroid games, you're very familiar with elevator rooms, portals, going to and from your ship from space, train rides, all basically loading rooms disguised as something that fits into the environment and setting of the game. What I suspect may be happening is more of an expansion of interconnecting primary gameplay environments versus the game being entirely open world. The design premise here is, why ride an elevator or a train and just sit there when the player can drive there themselves, pressing buttons, actually playing the game, and engaging with the planet a bit. I imagine we'll see a few interesting enemies, scenery to build excitement and tension for segments later in the game, and probably a missile expansion or two. But I don't think Prime 4 will truly be an open world game like recent Zelda games have been, or even close to it. If this game was going to be open world in that sense, I believe it would have been much more heavily emphasized in earlier trailers, just like it was for Zelda. I think Nintendo chose to showcase the various types of gameplay in Prime 4 in the order that they did, so that people would be less inclined to think that the gameplay would focus on open world elements, and rather so that people would know they would be playing a quote-unquote proper Prime game as the fanbase is accustomed to. I could be wrong, but I think they know the Metroid fanbase is a little more hesitant about change at this point, and that if there ever was to be a truly open-world gameplay experience in the Metroid series, it might take a little more persuasion through baby steps, like introducing a single element or two of open-world gameplay at a time, as we are likely getting now. This could mean a Metroid Prime 5 is open world. This can mean that there's a whole new Metroid spin-off that's specifically open world, and it's not Prime, it's not like the typical 2D games, it's something else entirely. Metroid World, I don't know. Now, earlier I mentioned that Nintendo might be misleading us on purpose. It's not especially likely that they would do this intentionally, but it's definitely possible. Why would they do that? Because now people are talking about it. Because now I'm making a YouTube video for the game and essentially doing extra promotion for the game's launch. Even if one individual person may be dissuaded from purchasing due to open world gameplay fears, at least at launch anyway, it's likely that the increased conversation is leading more people to see the game and to at least be intrigued by it. Personally, I'm fascinated by the idea of an open world Metroid game in the style of Breath of the Wild. That would be right up my alley, but I don't think we're getting that. I think if it was going to be that way, by now we'd have seen Samus in some typical open world announcement trope of climbing up a mountain in some trailer. I think we have a bike instead of elevators, and we spend a few minutes riding across Viros to our destinations before we eventually unlock some kind of fast travel mechanic. I personally don't mind the idea of a little F-Zero in my Metroid, so I'm excited to give it a try. All that being said, I want to know what you think. Do you agree, or am I out of my mind? Will this take age like milk? I am genuinely curious to get as many perspectives on this as I can to better understand how Metroid fans, and even the overarching gaming community feels, and maybe future videos can be driven by this input. One way or another, I'm hyped for this game. I pre-ordered Prime 4 the day it was announced on June 13th, 2017, which was 2.5 years into my content journey, and now I'm 10.5 years in. If you're interested in Metroid Prime 4, or the series in general, I'd love to have you along for the ride. I've got a really special Metroid related video coming to the channel here soon, so please consider subscribing, or maybe poking your head into Twitch chat, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.